Hey, this is Royce from Jesus and a Cup of Joe. Are you in the market trying to find a great gift and not sure what to do? Why don't you check out my friends at Artisans Woodwork 73. They are your one-stop shop for all of your wood needs. They do handmade cutting boards, cheese boards, stovetop covers, you name it, he can make it. So why don't you check them out, artisanswoodwork73.com. And if you use the promo code hashtag Jesus and a Cup of Joe, you can get up to 10% off your order.
Hello, and welcome to the Jesus and a Cup of Joe podcast, the show that brings you a conversation about Jesus, the Bible, and life. Here is your host, Royce Bottoms.
Hey, I want to welcome all of you to Jesus and a Cup of Joe. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend it with me. I hope and pray you're having a fantastic day. You have your great cup of Joe and you're ready to go. One of the things I enjoy the most about doing these podcasts is bringing you the details of the characters of the Bible. I did 2 episodes that were entitled The 12 Disciples that Jesus called. I was able to do an episode about who is Jesus, and today I'm looking at Abraham. Aside from Moses, no Old Testament character is mentioned more in the New Testament than Abraham. James refers to him as God's friend, a title used by no one else in the scriptures. Believers in all generations are called the children of Abraham. The importance and the impact of the history is seen through the scriptures. The life of Abraham takes up a good portion of Genesis, which is narrated at the first mention of Genesis 11:26 to his death of Genesis 25:8. Although we know much about Abraham's life, we know little about his birth or his early life. When we first meet Abraham, he's already 75 years old. According to the records, we can see in Genesis 11:28, Abraham's father lived in Ur, which is an influential city in the southern Mesopotamia, situated by the Euphrates rivers, about halfway between the head of the Persian Gulf and modern-day city of Baghdad. We can also see that his father took his family and set off to a land of Canaan, but instead settled in the city of Haran, in northern Mesopotamia. This was a trade route for ancient Babylonia and about halfway between Damascus and Nineveh. But Abraham's story turns interesting at the start of Genesis 12. In the first 3 verses, we see where Abraham is called by God. After God calls Abraham, he went. And it says, as the Lord had told him. The author of Hebrews uses Abraham as an example of faith several times and refers specifically to impressive acts. By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he knew he would later receive the inheritance and obey, and he went, even though he did not know where he was going. Hebrews 11:8. How many of us would leave behind everything familiar to us and go without knowing our destination? The concept of family meant everything to a person living in that time of Abraham. And at that time, family units were strong knit, and it was unusual for a family member to live hundreds of miles apart from each other. In addition, we're not told anything about the religious life of Abraham or his family before his calling. The people of Ur worshipped an ancient Babylonian god, in particular, the moon god. So God called Abraham out of the pagan culture. Abraham knew and recognized the call of the Lord and obeyed willingly and did not hesitate. So another example of Abraham's life and faith is seen with the birth of his son Isaac. Abraham and Sarah were childless, but yet God promised that Abraham would have a son. This son would be the inheritance of Abraham's vast fortune, which God blessed him with. More importantly, he would be the heir of the promise and the continuation of the godly line of Seth. Abraham believed in this promise of God, and the faith is credited to his righteousness. God promised to Abraham that he would be rewarded, and he was with the birth of Isaac. So Abraham's faith would be tested regarding his son Isaac. God commanded Abraham to sacrifice Isaac on top of the mountain. We're not sure how Abraham took the news, but we could see that he was willfully and faithfully obeying what God has said. He knew that he could trust God in every aspect of his life. And we know how the story ends with God holding back Abraham from sacrificing Isaac. But imagine how Abraham must have felt. He had been waiting decades for a son of his own, and God, who promised him a child, was about to take it away. Now, I'm not sure about you, but as a parent myself, I cannot imagine what Abraham was going through. You're being told by God to sacrifice your son, to take him up on top of a mountain and sacrifice him to the Lord. After everything that you've been through, everything that God has promised you, now he's given you the ultimate test. And I'm not sure, ladies and gentlemen, if I could pass that test, but Abraham did. Abraham did it because his faith in God was greater than the love of his son. And he trusted that even if he sacrificed Isaac, that God was able to bring him back from the dead. To be sure, Abraham had his moments of failures and sins. The Bible does not turn away from these, and they relate to them. We all know of 2 occasions where Abraham lied regarding his relationship to Sarah to protect himself against potential hostile lands. In both of these instances, God protected and blessed Abraham despite his lack of faith. We also know that the frustration of not having a child wore on Abraham and Sarah. Sarah suggested that Abraham have a child with Sarah's servant Hagar on her behalf, and Abraham agreed. And the birth of Ishmael not only demonstrated that Abraham's lack of faith and grace in God, but it also caused a rift between Sarah and Hagar. Now, before we knew Abraham by his name, he was also known as Abram. And when Ishmael was 13 years old, God gave Abram a new name along with a covenant of circumcision and a renewed promise to give him a son through Sarah, who God also gave a new name. Abraham, meaning high father, became Abraham, the father of multitude. Indeed, Abraham had many physical descendants, all who put their faith in God through Jesus and also counted their spiritual heirs to Abraham. The father of the faithful, as his moment of doubt, disbelief, but yet he still claimed to be faithful toward God. So what can we learn from this at this point? We know how Abraham got his name. We know that he was promised a son. We know that he was given Hagar to lay with to produce a son because Sarah could not bear any children. But yet God promised and blessed her with a child, Isaac. Now, Hagar and Ishmael was sent off through jealousy because the firstborn would have it all from the father. And with Isaac being born, Sarah wanted to ensure that Isaac had everything of Abraham's. And so I'll digress for a minute and tell you this. With Ishmael leaving with Hagar and traveling and God protecting them, Ishmael gave birth to what we know as Islam, as the Muslim faith today. Now, things have changed with all of that, and I'm not going to get into the whole faith and religion aspect right now. I just find it interesting that this is the birth of Islamic religion, is through Ishmael. I believe there are some things that we can take away today from looking at Abraham and his life. First, be obedient no matter what the circumstances is. Remain obedient in the Lord. Be there, be faithful, and be obedient. And remember, obedience should never be forced. It should be something you're willing and willfully ready to do. Something else to understand and take away from this is sacrifice is not supposed to be easy. When we are called to sacrifice things in our lives, it's not supposed to be easy because it is giving us an opportunity to become more like Jesus. And that's something we all should strive from, because we should learn to live life with faith. We need to learn how to live life with faith, how to be obedient, how to trust in the Lord. And the last thing we need to learn is faith is not hereditary. How many people do you know that could testify to their faith in God was not something they inherited from their parents? Whether their belief in God is faith or not, there's 3 distinct examples that prove that it's not enough to be a physical descendant of Abraham. That's found in Mark 3:9, Luke 3:8, and John 8:39. That's something to remember. Just because you're a descendant of Abraham does not give you the mighty ticket into heaven. We still have to walk by faith, not by sight. We still have to believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. We still have to turn our life over to Him, and we need to live the best that we can. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try to make up anything and make it sound easy, because it's not. This is 2022. There's a lot of things going on in the world today. Right now, there is a war overseas. There is fuel prices going up, food prices going up, food's becoming short in supply. There's a lot of things happening. People are becoming more and more violent, and people are becoming less faithful, in my opinion. And the reason I can say that is because people are clinging to whatever it is that's out there that they think they can have hope for. And I'm here to tell you today, unless you put your faith in Jesus, everything else in this world will fall to the wayside. Abraham knew what God had promised him, and he was put through the ultimate test, and he passed. He passed because he was obedient. As I said earlier, I don't think I could ever do that, but Abraham did. Even though Abraham had his faults, God still blessed him. And my question to you is this: do you think there's anything that you've done in your life that would cause God to love you any less than Abraham? Absolutely not. Is there anything that has happened that you have done that you feel like you can't go to God and ask for forgiveness? There shouldn't be. There shouldn't be anything upon this earth that you've ever done that you cannot go and seek forgiveness from God. I can't think of anything. But it happens. We have people out here who are lost, who fail to have faith, who fails to be obedient and listen to what God has for them. Too many times there are people that are called to do certain things, and we fail to do it. We fail to be obedient. When we're put to the ultimate test, we fail at that because we can't handle it. We just drop out. We don't know what to do. But if we were walking with God, if we were faithful with God, and we turned our life over to Him and allow Him to be the center of our life, I believe in my heart of hearts that life would be a lot easier. It would still be challenging. It would still be hard to an extent. But with Jesus and with the Lord with us, anything is possible. Anything is possible. So I know this is a quick episode. This is only about 13 to 15 minutes. I wanted to do it because I wanted to talk about Abraham. And I'm sure there's a lot more that we could get into, and I'm sure there's a lot more that you could get into. And so what we'll do is we'll do this. Here's a call to action. If there's anything that you can think of about Abraham, send me a message. Send me a message through social media. Let's start a discussion about Abraham, because we know that he has been blessed, and he is the father of multitudes. And we know who his descendants are. So if you can think anything else other than what I've mentioned today, reach out to me. I would love to be able to share it, read it, and maybe get into discussion about it. So I want to thank all of you for taking time to spend it with me today. I love being able to do this, and I thank all of you for your support by listening to this podcast and supporting us with everything that we do. Now, I want to encourage all of you, social media, go to my social media pages, reach out, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, JesusandACupOfJoe.com, subscribe, follow, and share. That's the biggest things that I ask. All right. But listen, until we meet again, I want you guys to have an awesome day. And I hope and pray that the Lord blesses you. But just always remember, you start your day with Jesus and a Cup of Joe. God bless.